So, good morning, hello and welcome to our webinar with Coadjute. We're excited to announce the launch of our integration with Coadjute and to show you how this can transform the way that you interact with third parties across property transactions. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us here today. I'm Dave, a product specialist and account manager at Osprey, and I'm joined today by Dan, Coadjute's CEO, who will be taking you through their value proposition later and how it will benefit your practice. We're also joined by Phil, Coadjute's implementation manager, who will be running the live demonstration with me later. Just before we get started, I wanted to let you know that we'll be conducting a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please feel free to submit any questions that you have within the Q&A box, and we'll try and get to them at the end of the session. If for any reason we are unable to answer them then and there, we'll be sure to follow up at a later date. We'll also be recording the webinar, so it will be available on demand, and we'll send all registrants the link later so that you can rewatch and or share with your colleagues at your convenience. So let's begin. I'm sure this will come as no surprise to you, but working within the conveyancing sector, but according to Lawtech's UK's home buying and selling report, on average, about 130 documents and 300 messages and emails are created and exchanged between lawyers and third parties. A lot of that document production and communication is all currently done manually, which is not only time consuming, but creates plenty of opportunities for errors, mistakes and delays. When workloads are increasing, compliance and data penalties becoming stricter, and client expectations growing, it's becoming increasingly more challenging for conveyancers to keep up and on top of their matters. Whilst we know there are a lot of challenges, change is already happening. There is already work that's taking place across the sector to help digitalise the conveyancing process, from electronic signatures and digital ID verification, which is now facilitating the onboarding process. We also have the latest announcements from HMLR with the digitalisation of AP1s. It's clear that there is change going on within the sector and more change is forthcoming. The foundation to any conveyancing operation is the case management software, as it provides tools such as automated workflows, client mobile and web portals, and digital onboarding features. These all help you speed up and streamline your conveyancing processes. What hasn't existed up until now is the catalyst that connects all of these technologies together so that they may operate more efficiently. And that's why we're really excited to be partnering with the Coadjute network. To tell you more about the transformational benefits of Coadjute and exactly how it will work with your practice, I'll now hand over to Dan.
Thanks, Dave. It's a pleasure to be joining everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. Let me just share my screen. I'm going to switch over, and then I can introduce you to Coadjute. So this is a really exciting moment for us. Osprey is a leading piece of software, and absolutely delighted to have Coadjute now integrated to it. The purpose of Coadjute and what Coadjute's trying to do is really help the whole home buying and selling process. We know it's a hugely challenging process for everybody involved and takes an enormous amount of effort. And there's tremendous opportunity still to make it faster and more secure by introducing new digital technologies. And what we at Coadjute do is we do a very thin layer that just connects all the systems together. It sounds very simple and it works very simple, but we think the effect of it can be quite profound on people's everyday lives. The sort of feedback we're already getting from veterans in the industry is that this really is a sea change moment. This is the kind of technology the industry has waited a long time to receive. So it's super exciting to be rolling it out. I've rolled out all sorts of new technologies over the last 20 years, many of which are in everyday use in people's homes and businesses already. And for me, this is the one that I think could have some of the biggest change that we've all been waiting for in our industry. The context for Coadjute is actually the complexity of our market. We take it for granted when we're all working in the property market, but it's actually, by any standards, quite a complicated one. It involves lots of different professions all coming together. The real estate profession, the legal profession, the financial profession, government, and so on. It's much more complicated than almost anything anyone normally does in their everyday lives. But that complexity also means that the joining together of those different professions makes property a slow and stressful and complex and unreliable process, despite your best efforts often. And that's what we're trying to help with. We're trying to support the professionals in the industry to be able to work a little less harder and to make things easier for everybody involved. The challenges that you will face on a daily basis, and which many of the people in the industry and indeed the home buyers and sellers face, are mostly ones actually of information. They're caused by the fact that the information exists in different places around the property market, but on other people's databases, and getting hold of it is where the challenge lies. You end up phoning or emailing or just trying to find who has the latest information and trying to keep things moving on. Even sharing information can be really difficult because the mechanisms that we have for sharing are often insecure, like email, and we do our very best to try and put up with what we've got. But actually there's an opportunity to do something better. Other industries have a market infrastructure that enables them to do this, and that's what we're introducing here in the property market. So what Coadjute does is it connects all the players in the property market from their existing systems. This picture is a good illustration because what it shows is that there is no central database in Coadjute. Coadjute is not collecting information. We're not a hub. We don't even see the information. What we do is we connect the parties to each other in a network. And what that means is that they can carry on working, you can carry on working on systems you're familiar with, like Osprey. And what it now enables Osprey to do is to be connected to the other people in the market on their systems. And that's all done with a tremendous level of security. The kind of network that we're using is not actually brand new. It's come across from use in banking and capital markets for moving hundreds of millions of euros and pounds and dollars of money and trade between banking in the world. So this is a network that's been used in high security, high volume processes before, and what we're doing is bringing it into the property market. The benefits for you are, firstly, less time spent chasing stuff, an easier way to communicate with the other parties that you need to be talking to, whether other conveyancers or other parties in the market, that you don't need an additional portal. This has been really important in the whole way we've developed Coadjute. It's seamlessly integrated into Osprey. You'll find it incredibly easy to use. It's very much part of the software that you use every day. It's not a separate thing. And then finally, that it creates this one source of the truth. Because Coadjute's not collecting information and distributing it, it's literally connecting people to each other. It means that everything you see is verified in the source that it's come from, it's encrypted en route so it hasn't changed, and when it gets to you, it's in real time. It's continuously updating. And that means that the information that you're seeing is something that you can rely on as if you were looking at the other party's database. What it will look like on your screen, you're going to see in a minute. It's a really exciting new piece of functionality. We're rolling it out both in terms of who in the market has got it. We're starting with estate agents and conveyancers, and we'll be adding brokers and banks in the coming months. But also in terms of the functionality, we've started with the functionality that has been most in demand. Everyone has told us that progress information, business referral, messaging, those are the kind of things that are needed first. But we're going to be adding on things like, for example, digital identity and documents and other functionality in future. So this is really just the beginning. You're effectively future-proofing Osprey, because what it means is that your software will gradually gain new capabilities as the Coadjute network expands. And what you're going to see now is something I'm super excited about. I think the Osprey installation is particularly beautifully done. And what Phil's going to show you is how elegantly it integrates into Osprey and what it's going to allow you to do. So I hope you enjoy the demo, and I look forward to answering questions at the end. Over to you, Phil.
Well, thanks, Dan. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, so good morning, everyone. What I thought we would do is actually start this journey as the estate agent. So what we have here on the screen now is a view of a Coadjute deal room by one of our estate agency CRM partners. And you can already see that within this view, I am sharing it with the conveyancer acting for the sales side. But what I would like to do is expand this view and also see the conveyancer for the purchase side. So quite simply, I'm going to search for a conveyancer across our network. It has found Dave works at Practice Limited, and I would like Dave to act for our buyer. Invite. And you'll see here in the top right corner, successfully invited. And without further ado, I will hand over to Dave so he can show you this in the Osprey system, all connected.
Great stuff. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so let me jump over to Osprey now. And hopefully you can now see our conveyancing app on screen. So obviously this has got all your client and matters. And for the observant amongst you, you will now notice that down the left-hand side where our primary menus reside, we have a new Coadjute function. From here, I can just click on the little plus button, and what you can see are the invitations. If I select that, then you can actually see the invitations that have been sent through. Oh, was it that last one? Sorry, Phil, I can't recall which one you popped through.
Second one down.
Second one down, apologies. So here is the invite. I can click on the invitation and I can see the details there. I can reject it. But what I can do at the bottom here is I've got a couple of options. I can create a new matter if that person doesn't already exist within our system, or I can simply go and search for them. So I'm going to click on to search for an existing matter within my system. I'm going to pop in the postcode, and I've actually got two here, one for the seller and also one for the buyer. So I can click on this. And then once I'm happy that's the correct matter, I can click on the confirm and accept button. I just get a confirmation message, click on OK. It's now connecting me to the other parties within the Coadjute network. And then I can either return back to my invites to accept other invitations, or I can click on the view case. And what this does is it jumps me directly into the client and matter, where I've got all of my key dates, documents and workflows that help facilitate the process. But what you'll now notice is that at the top, we've got two additional Coadjute sub-menu items. We've got one for messaging, which I'll come on to in just a moment. But let's click on the Coadjute board. It's now loading all of the live information, and each of these columns represents one of the parties involved within this process. So you can see that we've got Chelsea is acting on behalf of the seller. We've got the estate agent, and then we've got the myself acting as the buyer's conveyancer. And what you're seeing underneath are all of the different tasks and activities that we need to keep on top of. And what I can do is I can actually go in and I can communicate to all of the parties that are involved in the process where I am within a particular process. So for example, I could say that, yes, we have completed the client questionnaire process. And then what it's doing is updating that status across all of the other parties. We can just, let's just start our money on account. Worth just noting that all of these options that you see are configurable. So if any of them don't necessarily, you don't wish to have that information exposed, then those can be configured within the system. So very easy to go through and update all of the tasks and actions that you're performing so that everyone within the process is able to see where you are with a particular conveyancing matter. Jumping on to the messaging system, as its name suggests, it's a simple messaging functionality that allows you to message all the participants and exchange information. So you can see here, my colleague Chelsea has actually sent a message, so I've got access to that, and I can actually respond back to Phil. And I can send that. So let's now jump back to Phil and see how those changes have actually been reflected within his system.
Well, thanks, Dave. Okay, so if we jump back over now to our estate agent's view, the estate agent has the same view as seen in Osprey. We can see exactly where I, as the agent, am up to, what I have outstanding. I can see what Dave has started. Money on account has been started today. And I can see exactly where Chelsea is up to as well within the transaction. If we jump over to messaging, again, we've got room messaging here, so I can talk to everyone within that deal room and keep all of our communication central rather than jumping into multiple different email threads. And quite simply, if I respond, that will be sent to both case management systems and Osprey on the other side. There we go. Back to you, Dave.
Great stuff, thank you. So I'm just going to jump back into my system quickly. So where are we with this integration with Coadjute and what's actually next? We're pleased to say that this integration is now live, so it's actually functionality that is available so that you can get connected today. To get started, all you would need to do is contact your Osprey account manager, or you can go directly to our support team and we'll be more than happy to get you up and running. It's a very, very simple process with a minimal amount of configuration that is actually required. So very quick and simple. Obviously, we're more than happy to speak with you more and also get Coadjute involved if you've got any other questions. But before we end this session, we just want to take a look at some of the questions that we've actually had in during this webinar. So the first question we've got, this is for you, Dan. Is there a free trial available for Coadjute?
Yeah, yes, there is. Phil, do you want to give the details of that?
Yes, so what we're looking at doing for all Osprey customers is a free trial. All you need to do is get in touch with your Osprey account manager to get that set up.
Lovely, thank you. How long does it actually does it take to get up and running with the system?
It's pretty swift. I think we're generally getting people up and running within about 15 minutes, actually, which sounds crazy stuff, but as you can see, it's really effortlessly integrated. It's part of the Osprey system, so yeah, very straightforward. And I know, Phil, sometimes people have set aside an afternoon for training, haven't they? It's not really needed.
Yeah, we set aside an afternoon normally, and we're normally done in about 10 minutes. So yeah, pretty good.
Lovely, thank you. So we've got a question that's asking what the future plans for Coadjute are and kind of what new developments can we expect to see in the future.
Yeah, that's a great question because as you can see, it's sort of effortless actually. Once you start seeing other people's activity and being able to connect, it is the natural question is what else could I share? So the messaging function is going to be developed. What you saw there is group messaging, a little bit like WhatsApp. So that will be developed into one-to-one messaging and then the sharing of documents. Digital identity is a really exciting development. We've announced that we're working with Credas, the digital identity provider, and there will be others as well. And what Coadjute allows you to do is, for the very first time, share digital identity. Because the source of the identity is also on the network, you don't need to rely on the party that took the identity. You can click it on the screen and check with the original provider, and that I think is going to make it much easier to both to share and get digital identity. So I think that's an exciting development. And then ultimately, if we go into the future, we've already run some trials which will allow us eventually to move things like money and title over the network as well. So you should think of it really as the network for the industry that connects all of the parties to enable whatever it is that they want to share to be shared and work together from their existing system. Some people, this kind of technology tends to be referred to as sort of Web3 technology, and it's quite a good way of thinking about it. You used to have standalone systems, and then they were connected on the internet. Well, now you're connected over this kind of network, which securely allows you to work with other people. So yeah, there's a lot coming in the future. This is the beginning of what's quite substantial rollout this year. We've got huge interest, and there's an enormous number of new systems and people pretty much joining out every month.
Great stuff. So just the tip of the iceberg then.
Yeah, this is just the what you're seeing here, which I have to say people are already telling us is pretty awesome. It's amazing how a small thing can make such a big difference. But yeah, this is just the beginning of what will be lots of new functionality that Osprey will be offering in future.
Great stuff, thank you. One question that I can answer here: what happens if our practice is acting on behalf of both the buyer and seller? That's very simple. You'll be invited to the Coadjute board. You'll have invitations for both of those parties, and then you'll be able to see both sides from the buyer and seller's perspective. I probably skipped over that a little quickly within my demonstration, but when I searched for the postcode, I actually had both the buyer and seller, so that's not a problem at all. Okay, does this only work if all parties have Coadjute integrated into their systems?
No, it doesn't. That's one of the things that I think is exciting about Coadjute. So we don't change the process. Coadjute is very respectful that the way people work today is how they want to work. It enables them to work better. So if some parties aren't on Coadjute, that's fine. You carry on working with them as you are today. Any parties that are on Coadjute, you've got that extra connected information and it's easier to work with them. So you don't need everybody involved in the transaction on it. Obviously, it's definitely better if everyone is. We know when both buyer and seller's conveyancer are on the system together with the estate agent, you end up with a lot of efficiencies. But no, if just sort of one party or the other is on, it's still a saving of time and effort. There's no downside, and we've very much designed it like that because we recognised it takes time to roll out a network. Not everyone will be on it on day one, but we're already seeing actually that people prefer to work with people who are on Coadjute. So that will be an encouragement for others to want to join as well. We get a tremendous amount of referral actually. About 2/3 of all customers on Coadjute tell us. Introduce us to other people that they would like to see on Coadjute, and of course that's to some extent self-serving. They want them on Coadjute because they want to be seeing the kind of information that you've seen today. But in answer to that question, they don't all need to be on it. You can use it even if only one party is.
And just on that point again, Dan, what are Coadjute doing from a proactive perspective in terms of looking to grow that market? Are you actively going out to estate agents and solicitors?
Yeah, we have a tremendous actually amount of activity going on. We're very lucky to work with partners like Osprey who hold events like this and who themselves are promoting the Coadjute functionality. But yeah, we also have quite a big push. So for example, we sponsor one of the biggest industry events in a state agency, the ESTAs. It's also, as you may know, a method that the estate agents use for getting feedback from hundreds of thousands of members of the public. So huge numbers of estate agents are involved in the ESTAs as an awards and feedback capability. We sponsor that event. We're long-term sponsors for that event now. So we have very high public profile with estate agents and increasingly with conveyancers. We obviously have our own sales team and we have quite a big marketing effort going on as well, and we're stepping that up. So yeah, we're very, very active in the market, and of course all the other systems that are joining Coadjute are also themselves encouraging their agents and conveyancers to join. So there's quite an industry-wide impetus actually for what we're doing here. Yeah, we're certainly keen to see everybody involved in the network and putting our effort in as well.
Okay, fantastic. Another question that's come through the Q&A. What are the costs? What's the kind of pricing structure that is used by Coadjute?
So there are two elements to the pricing. There's a per user per month fee, and then there is a fee for use for a transaction, for a property deal. It's important to say it's not related to the price of the property. And also it's just once. You can use, if the property deal goes on for a year, goodness knows we hope it doesn't, but if it does, you just pay once for the use of Coadjute throughout that deal. So it's like a connection fee. But yeah, we treat it, it's a fixed price for the user and for the transaction. And I'm sure Osprey can give you the exact numbers.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we're able to answer. If there's any others that we haven't got to, we'll be sure to follow up with you after this webinar. So we will definitely get back to you. So that includes our webinar. We hope you found the session informative. Just for me to say thank you for our panelists and for Coadjute joining us, also for all of our clients that have taken part within this webinar. Please don't hesitate to either get in contact with your Osprey account manager or support. We're happy to get on to further discussions and demonstrations with Coadjute. So if anything arises, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you once again for your time. It's much appreciated.
Thanks,
Dave.